Hi, welcome to this very special episode of Sexpertise, my 39th birthday mailbag. We did change a couple things around here, and I wanted to close out the year with something fun and intimate and just deeply connecting. So today I'm answering your real questions. Some are tender, some are bold, some are spicy, some are vulnerable, just the way we like it here. If you've ever had a burning question you were too shy to ask in public, chances are someone else asked it for you today. So, this episode is meant to feel like a cozy conversation, warm lighting, a cup of tea. I have mine. It actually says, "Stay cozy." Wrapped up in a blanket. In this case, I'm wearing my Santa getup and heart open. I want you to know that every question you sent is valid, important, and deeply human, whether you're struggling with stress or desire, communication, or just curiosity. These are things that shape our intimate lives more than any textbook ever could. So let's dive in with honesty, softness, and just enough heat to match the birthday energy. No shame, no judgment, just real talk and growth. So let's get into question one. So I did curate the questions that came in, and let's see. So the first one is, how do I rebuild desire after stress? This is very common. And we have about 12 to 13 questions to go through, and most of them are more common than you think. So, rebuilding desire. Stress is one of the biggest intimacy killers, not because anything is wrong with your body, but because the nervous system literally shuts down desire when it feels overwhelmed. Your libido isn't broken, it's just protecting you. And we've talked about that in past episodes. So the first step isn't to force desire, but to create conditions where your body can feel safe, unrushed, and basically receptive again. Small rituals help tremendously. So think warm showers, deep breathing, soft music, self-touch that isn't about orgasm, but about reconnecting with your skin. Sensuality, it returns when we stop demanding it to show up on command. That's the main problem. That's most of us just want it to happen instead of just going with the flow. So desire, it's not a switch, it's a flame. It's a flame that grows with attention and infants. So remember that rest is essentially foreplay. So pleasure thrives in an unclenched body. If your mind is overloaded, desire will always step aside. So start with relaxation, self-kindness, and slow re-entry into your sensual self. Your body will catch up once the storm settles. What if my partner wants more sex than I do? Desire mismatch is one of the most common relationship dynamics, and yet couples rarely talk about it without shame or frustration. Am I wrong? Some of you are probably like, yeah. It's a relatable problem. It doesn't mean that you're incompatible or that someone's needs are too much. It simply means that you experience desire differently. And that's completely normal. Your job isn't to match each other, it's to understand each other. So, a great middle ground strategy is to create a menu of intimacy options. Maybe on days when sex feels like too much, cuddling, kissing, massages, baths, or sensual connection without penetration still feel good. Intimacy doesn't have to be all or nothing. When you expand the definition, both partners feel seen and satisfied. What brings closeness is not frequency, it's communication. Communication is something I talk about constantly. It's kind of the solution to a lot of the things that we talk about on this show. When you both feel safe to express your authentic desire levels without pressure, then your connection grows. Desire mismatch becomes an opportunity for collaboration, not conflict. So here's another common question. How do I start dirty talk without feeling cringe? Well, start simple. Start simple. You don't have to jump into these awesome scripts of dirty talk. Okay. It doesn't have to jump straight into explicit language. So start simple. Begin with sensory words. So when you think sensory, I love how your skin feels, or you smell amazing, or I can't stop thinking about your lips. Just soft, romantic, or atmospheric language that warms up the nervous system and makes it feel safe enough to maybe explore more. So confidence isn't going to come right away. It comes from repetition. So you don't need to sound like a performer. The sexiest dirty talk is authentic, not theatrical. So whisper what you genuinely feel, not what you think you're supposed to say. Let your voice drop naturally. Let the tempo slow down and focus on presence instead of perfection. Dirty talk is not a dog. When your partner breath, touch, or body, you get real-time feedback. That interplay creates the rhythm, not memorized lines. So, again, start soft, let it grow, and give yourself permission to learn through play. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. All right, so we're going to get a little deeper now. Is it normal to lose interest after trauma? Completely. Completely. So trauma changes the way the nervous system experiences closeness. All right. Your body might interpret arousal as threat instead of pleasure. This is not a character flaw. It's simply biology. When your survival mode is activated, desire goes offline to protect you. It's to protect you. So you might have had an amazing sex life and maybe trauma happened and boom, desire's gone. It's normal. These are the reasons why. You're not broken, you're healing. So as safety returns emotionally, mentally, physically, desire often returns in new ways. It may not look like your old patterns, and that's okay. Many survivors find that slow, sensual, low pressure intimacy feels better than what they used to enjoy. So your pleasure identity can evolve. The key is patience with yourself. We're very impatient. So the key is to be patient with yourself. Trauma rewires the body, but so does pleasure. So does tenderness and consistent care. Every time you honor your body's pace, you're teaching it that it's allowed to feel good again. Why can't I orgasm easily? It's another very common one. I'm telling you, every single one is going to be common. Every single one. This is why I truly feel sometimes like all the questions that I ever get are valid. You know how they say no question is like a stupid question? I mean, some of us are kind of like, yeah, there are some stupid questions out there, but when we're talking about sexual health education, it's very rare that I get like a stupid question. A lot of these questions are common and valid. So, a lot of people think orgasm should just come easily. Pun intended, right? But orgasm is a response to arousal, not the other way around. Many people focus so intensely on finishing that their body tenses up, blocks the very pleasure that you're trying to access. The more you chase an orgasm, the more it hides. Does that make sense? That's because the orgasm response thrives on relaxation, not pressure. Most people need external clitoral stimulation, not penetration, in order to orgasm. But shame often stops them from asking for what works. They don't want to ask for what works for them. There's nothing wrong with needing more time, more touch, or different types of stimulation. Your pleasure map, we talked about pleasure maps on a previous episode, but your pleasure map is unique, and discovering it takes a lot of curiosity and patience. So try breathing deeper. Try grounding into your hips, slowing down, and focusing on sensation without a goal. When you release that pressure, pleasure expands naturally. Your body knows how to orgasm. It just needs the right environment. How do I feel confident naked again? So another good question. I have come across a lot of people with body image issues, and sometimes that stops them from having a great sex life. So this is the type of question that I usually get with that type of situation. So confidence isn't about liking every inch of your body, okay? It's not about that. It's about feeling at home in it. So start with sensual mirror work in the mirror. Not judgmental staring, but soft witnessing. Touch your arms, touch your hips, your stomach, your thighs with gentleness. Reteach your nervous system that your body is safe to inhabit. Movement helps tremendously. It just really, really helps. For me, it's belly dance. All right. So belly dance helps me with my confidence. That's my thing. All right. So I encourage you to explore movement, whether it's belly dance, stretching, walking, or simply just swaying to music. Movement reconnects you with your sensual identity. It pulls you out of your head and into your physical presence. So embodiment is confidence in motion. And confidence also grows through repetition, not perfection. When you choose, it's a choice. When you choose to be present in your body instead of criticizing it, you create new neural pathways of acceptance. Your naked self becomes familiar, and being familiar breeds comfort. It breeds comfort. So for those of you who are asking that, I hope that that helps. Here's another common one that starts fights. Is masturbation healthy in relationships? Yes. Believe it or not, yes. In fact, it is beneficial. Self-pleasure builds body literacy, which makes partnered intimacy easier and more fulfilling. I don't know who needed to hear that, but there you go. When you know your own pleasure blueprint, you can communicate it clearly. This reduces guesswork, increases satisfaction, and deepens connection. Masturbation also helps regulate hormones, reduce stress, improve sleep, and boost your mood. It's not a replacement for intimacy, it's a complement. Think of it as solo training that enhances the team sport. You can take that one and use it, all right? I know there's some of you out there watching this episode and saying like, all right, I got to tell my husband or my wife. But yes, think of it as solo training that enhances the team sport. Healthy relationships, that's the key word, healthy. But healthy relationships celebrate individuality. Self-pleasure maintains autonomy, reduces pressure on the partnership, and empowers you to stay connected to your sensuality regardless of external circumstances. All right, for those of you that have been together a long time, what do I do if sex feels like a chore? Well, if sex feels like a chore, it means your emotional or mental load is too heavy. It's not that you've lost interest permanently. When your nervous system is overwhelmed, sensuality becomes inaccessible. The problem is not desire, it's depletion. So, start by lowering the bar. Instead of aiming for sex, aim for closeness. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe cuddling, massages, hand holding, showering together, or simply lying together with no expectations. Pressure-free proximity reawakens intimacy without demanding performance. This question is very similar to the one about desire. As your nervous system softens, desire often returns naturally. So remember that intimacy is not something you owe, it's something that you build. So let connection be the starting point, not the finish line. All right, what's our next question? How do I ask for what I want? How do I ask for what I want? So this is a question rooted in probably someone that may have issues with communication, or they may be intimidated by their partner. But asking for your desires begins with clarity. All right. So before you talk to your partner, sit with yourself first and identify what you truly want. Is it more touch, slower pace, more passion, more communication? The clearer you are internally, the easier it becomes to express it externally. So use soft, direct language. I really love when you ... Or I've been thinking about trying ... Or I feel most connected when we ... These open dialogue, these open dialogue rather than triggering defensiveness. Okay, so the way you frame it is going to open that dialogue. I cannot speak tonight. Dialogue. So I feel like if you do this, it's going to open that conversation instead of triggering someone to get defensive, is what I'm trying to say. So desire sharing should feel collaborative, not confrontational. All right. And often I feel like people who may have this question, it's because they feel like it's going to cause a confrontation. So use some of those open-ended phrases that we just went over. And remember, you're not demanding anything. It's not a demand. You're inviting. Pleasure thrives in invitations, not ultimatums. So when both partners feel safe expressing their desires, intimacy becomes richer and more honest. All right. So what if my libido comes and goes? So this is also completely normal. If you're someone who is experiencing this, please understand that this is totally normal, similar to our desire question from earlier, but this is where science kind of comes into play as well. So desire is a cycle. It's influenced by hormones, by stress, by sleep, by diet, emotional connection, body image, and life circumstances. So expecting libido to be stable is honestly unrealistic, and it sets people up for shame. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, what is my body telling me? Sometimes it's asking for rest, hydration, emotional reassurance, or novelty. Your libido is a messenger, it's not a malfunction. So ride the waves. When desire is high, enjoy it. When it dips, nurture yourself. Flexible intimacy, not rigid expectations, is the foundation of a sustainable sexual relationship. So, for those of you in long-term marriages, long-term relationships, or maybe you're thinking about being in a long-term relationship and you're like, how do I do this? How can we keep things spicy long-term? So, long-term passion thrives on curiosity. At the end of every episode, sometimes I end it letting you guys know, stay curious, stay curious, stay curious. I say this for a reason, and this is the reason. It does. Passion thrives on curiosity. So the more that you explore, communicate, and play, it's just Vicks, the more alive the connection becomes. All right. So you don't need dramatic changes to keep things spicy long term. We always talk about how do we keep things spicy in the bedroom? And you'll see commercials about keeping things spicy. You'll see toys being sold. This is how you keep things spicy. No, you don't need a dramatic change. You just need small shifts, new positions, new settings, new fantasies, new pacing. Emotional intimacy is the true fuel for sexual spice. So when you feel seen, when you feel appreciated and safe, your body becomes more responsive and open. So romance, even tiny acts of affection, they keep that desire simmering. So think of your relationship as a living organism that grows with attention. Keep feeding it novelty, affirmation, and tenderness, and passion will stay vibrant. All right. Can a relationship survive sexual dry spells? So, dry spells are a thing, they're normal, often temporary. Can a relationship survive those? Absolutely. Absolutely. They happen after trauma. Typically, like these sexual dry spells can happen after trauma. They can happen after stress, traveling, illness, childbirth, grief, or major life transitions. A relationship is not defined by the presence or the absence of constant sex. It's defined by trust, communication, and mutual care. So, what matters is how you navigate the dry spell together. If you panic, withdraw, or blame yourself or your partner, then tension is going to grow. But if you approach it with compassion and teamwork, it becomes an opportunity to reconnect emotionally. Every couple goes through seasons, every couple. Intimacy is not linear, all right? It's also a cycle. So surviving dry spells together, that actually deepens the relationship long term. All right, so I am ending on this question. What's one thing you wish everyone knew about pleasure? So what's one thing I wish everyone knew about pleasure? Well, pleasure is not something you have, all right? Pleasure is not something you have. It's something that you learn, all right? Your body can be retrained, rediscovered, and reactivated at any age. Any age. No one is doomed to a lifetime of mediocre or disconnected sex. This is so important for me to say. I'm really glad that someone asked this question, and I just felt it was the perfect closer. Because I hear a lot of complaints about people's sex life. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help people have a better sex life, an educated sex life, safe sex, if you're younger, single, and I try to guide married couples in a way that keep these marriages intact, right? But there's this common misconception about like, well, I'm just settling for this type of sex. Well, no. No one is doomed to a lifetime of mediocre or disconnected sex. Pleasure is a skill set, and skills can be learned. The biggest myth is that pleasure is automatic, that it's instinctual or perfect the first time. In reality, the sexiest people are the most self-connected, the most curious, the most communicative, not the most experienced though. Those are not the sexiest people. So confidence, not performance, creates the best sex. Once you release perfectionism, pleasure expands. Desire becomes accessible, connection becomes deeper, and intimacy becomes an adventure, not a test. Not a test. So, thank you so much for spending my 39th birthday with me. Well, technically, I turned 39 at midnight tonight. Since my birthday is the 17th. It is tomorrow, the 17th. But I'm glad that you joined me tonight to celebrate my 39th birthday, sharing your questions, your curiosity, your vulnerability, and your trust. These conversations are the heart of Sexpertise. And I'm grateful every week that you show up with open minds and open hearts. Remember, pleasure grows with curiosity. If you got anything from this episode, that should probably be the one thing you grasped. I think that confidence definitely grows with knowledge, and intimacy grows when we stop performing and start connecting. Take one insight from tonight and bring it into your week. Tiny shifts create big, big transformations. Now, this is our last fresh episode of the year, so enjoy our holiday reruns for the next couple weeks while you rest, recharge, and maybe explore a little pleasure of your own. If you want more tools during the break, you can always join me on Patreon. So Patreon at the Erica Rivera, or you can book a one-on-one session. Tonight's intimacy tip sheet will be released just about 15 minutes after this episode ends. So if you're a current patron or you would like to join Patreon, you'll have access to that in a little bit. So happy holidays. Stay warm, stay soft, stay curious, and I'll see you in 2026 with brand new episodes.